You've heard the president on this topic before. He says it's a witch hunt. There's nothing that connects me to Russia or any collusion. There was no collusion. Is there anything in this verdict that would dispute that?
Well, no, not really directly. I mean, I think it certainly takes the wind out of the argument that Mueller is on a witch hunt because he's gotten a conviction here on some substantial charges, but none of these charges relate directly to the president or anything that Mr. Manafort was alleged to have done in connection with the campaign. So he's moving one step closer in this investigation, but he's certainly not at the point at which any of these charges relate directly to anything that the president was involved in directly.
But Sarah, let's step back and think about these elements. First of all, Paul Manafort, the charges do relate to his work on behalf of a Russia-aligned oligarch in Ukraine. The president, Paul Manafort, of course, was chairman of the campaign. Michael Cohen, during 2016, was trying to develop the Trump Tower in Moscow. The Cohen plea, we believe, and we haven't seen all the details, does relate to conduct of the president related to payment of hush money in connection to potential affairs. But it's also the case that Michael Cohen has had connections with Russian figures for a long time. In addition to that, Michael Flynn, the national security advisor, the felonies that he has pled guilty to involve conversations with Russian diplomats about policy toward Russia. So there is a lot of nexus here between the cases that are ongoing and the president, and all of them have some intersection with Russia or Russia-aligned interests.
You know, one of the things to look for here in this, as we see Michael Cohen's guilty plea, we don't have the text yet. At least I don't have it in front of me here in Washington. But at some point, we will see whether or not the president is named in that guilty plea, because one of the pieces of that is a campaign finance allegation, we are told. So will the president be named, even if he's named as, you know, presidential candidate A, as they sometimes do in these documents? This might be an information from the government in terms of what they know here. And the question will be, does the document reveal anything about the president's awareness of this alleged campaign violation? And that would take this right to the president himself in a way that the Paul Manafort situation doesn't directly do in terms of the allegations against him and the 8 counts which he has now been found guilty on.
Looks like we have an after-hours reaction a bit within the S&P. I just want to pull up after-hours trading. Market obviously closed. Plus a little bit of steam into the close. Here's an ETF trading 1/3% lower here after hours. There's a lot here, that very dramatic 2 hours. In case you're just joining us, Michael Cohen, the former personal lawyer of President Donald Trump, his personal attorney, surrendering to the FBI, entering a guilty plea. At the same time, we learned that Paul Manafort, his former campaign manager, is found guilty on 8 counts.
Yes.
Stunning.
And you had a reversal during the day from an all-time high to below an all-time high, and you had the volatility index stay in positive territory, meaning it went up in the close of a very quiet rally session. So people were bracing for some of these headlines to be, I believe.
Eamon, some new headlines that I'd love to get your reaction to from a number of news organizations. Cohen saying he violated campaign law at the direction of candidate. Cohen says he acted for a purpose of influencing election. Cohen violated campaign law at direction, again, of unnamed candidate.
Right.
I think we know who that is, but give me the significance.
Right. I don't have those headlines right here, David, confirmed by NBC News or our own reporting, but these are other news organizations that are reporting this right now. Yes, they are other
reputable. Yes.
Yes. Right. Yes. So what that means is that the president is not named by name in the documents, but it's indicated that Michael Cohen broke the law at the behest of the presidential candidate, Donald Trump, that Michael Cohen was working for. So that's laid out in black and white. We'll have to get the exact wording from the document as to what exactly it suggests that the president knew. But the language that you're reading to me suggests that this document is suggesting that the president was aware there that Michael Cohen was going to be breaking the law and directed him to do that. That's going to be politically damaging to the president. It's going to be something that the White House is going to have to react to. And as John just said, I think you can expect that the president will react to it tonight in that rally. The question is whether it's going to do anything to alter the political climate in Washington and across the country, a climate in which his base has been extraordinarily supportive of this president. They believe in his mission. They believe in what he's doing. They like the results they've seen so far in terms of tax cuts, deregulation, a number of the social issues and other things. This may not move the needle for them. You'll see on the flip side, opponents of the president will be encouraged that their suspicions may have been right all along by some of this language. But it may not move the needle for them either, because they were in the opposing camp anyway.
Does it move the needle? Maybe, John, you can help answer this, for Republicans in Congress?
Look, it is very difficult to know when in a circumstance like this the dam breaks or people have a reaction that's different from what they've done in the past. Remember, during the Watergate scandal, Republicans hung in with and conservatives hung in with Richard Nixon very close to the end. Now, Eamon is correct. The president has held on to the overwhelming majority of his base, but it's a smaller base than it used to be. He is in a weakened condition. Democrats are poised to make big gains in November. If you start adding additional evidence here, I think that makes it a heavier burden for Republicans to carry this fall, and they are going to face a choice as the stuff hits the fan to either distance themselves or accept the consequences as we get to November. A couple of points to make on the, as Eamon said, if in fact those headlines that you were reading are accurate, then you have Michael Cohen admitting to a crime perpetrated at the direction of the president. We've already heard the president's voice on tape discussing cash payments in connection with those payoffs, in the case of Karen McDougal. It's also true when we talk about Paul Manafort. Yes, his crimes were not committed to the campaign, but remember, Paul Manafort was in that Trump Tower meeting where they were seeking dirt on Hillary Clinton from the Russian government, as advertised in the email setting up the meeting. So, as I said, the nexus of criminality around President Trump increases the political burden on him, the political damage and fallout he's going to have. Don't know when that damage becomes unsustainable. It's been sustainable for him so far, but you'd certainly rather have less than more if you're President Trump, and you can judge from his recent tweets and perhaps from what he says tonight how he's feeling as that pressure increases on him.